Helmets are the most essential elements in many of our world's most popular sports. The conflict of the quality and the use of helmets has been around for centuries. In BMX, a sport derived from dirt bike racing and motocross, the conflict of helmet use has been around since the beginning of the existence of the sport. The sport has seen its share of tragic head injuries that could have easily, single-handedly inspired every rider to wear a quality helmet. However, the different aspects and disciplines of each of the sport differ significantly in their opinions of wearing a helmet. Therefore, the conflict of helmet use unfortunately stays a large part of BMX and most likely will until the end of time. There has been a very great deal of famous injuries that have brought grief and tragedy to the BMX world. Those injuries have greatly damaged the careers of many BMX riders. The cases of Brett Bonasewicz and TJ Levin have involved bad crashes, but furthermore, faulty and unprotected helmets. The helmets that they wore at the times of their crash were not suited at all for such a great impact, and therefore did little in protecting them against head injuries. Both Bonasewicz and Lavin had to be put into induced comas and have experienced long, enduring recoveries since the day of their crashes. Their stories have inspired many riders to purchase a better and more protective helmet. However, it has not been nearly enough. After recovering enough to walk and go back home, Lavin went far enough to require every single rider that rode his house setup to wear a full-face helmet, the most protective in all of BMX. Essentially, BMX crashes should inspire each and every rider to wear a quality helmet for safe and protective riding. However, they do not. Similarly, in the case of Mike Aitken, one of the most stylish dirt riders in our sport, he was not wearing a helmet at the time of his crash. He was just having a fun session at the trails with his friends shortly after he won the Do Tour, one of the largest contests in all of BMX. He forced his friends to be put in a situation where they didn't even know if he would survive, and he has also endured a very difficult recovery. BMX riders consistently see their friends crash and suffer in pain, and even worse, head injury. Although they may not be as serious as the cases of Bonasewicz, Lavin, or Aitken, they are still alarming and should inspire each rider to protect their head. Sorrowfully, this is untrue, and we see more riders without helmets than with them. The separate disciplines of BMX and the influential figures in each respective discipline also add to the discrepancy when it comes to riding with or without a helmet. For example, while riders of a vert ramp cannot even think about training or especially competing without a helmet, over 90% of riders on the streets can be seen without any protection on their head. This can be associated with the history of BMX. Older riders that star in the videos which have influenced the sport and have made it what it is today can also be pointed at when the community asks about the conflict of helmet use. For example, Matt Hoffman always wore his big full face helmet when he essentially wrote the record book for BMX. He defied all doubt in going high and invented countless tricks. Similar is Dave Mirra, who won more X Games gold medalists than any BMX athlete most likely ever will, all in his full face helmet. Children and the upcoming riders that idol those two riders, Mirra and Hoffman, can be seen wearing their same full face helmets and going big because they protect their faces and their heads. On the other hand, street riders such as Van Homan, whose inspirational street videos have influenced those who follow him and idolize him other than Hoffman and Mirra, to ride without a helmet. The upcoming and future of BMX looks up to those riders, and whoever they like the most, they idolize them. That is one of the reasons for the discrepancy of the helmet use. Even today, the X Games. In vert and mega ramp, all the riders can be seen wearing large full-face helmets and flying higher than one could imagine. But in the street contests, Riders are seen doing effortless grinds and incredible combos, but without any helmets, just with snapbacks on their head. So the little kids and the other riders watching are influenced by that and may think that they can do whatever the street riders can do without a helmet. But the kids that want to go big wear full face helmets, like those riders of the vert ramp and the mega ramp. Essentially, the use of helmets in BMX is also heavily dependent on the future. Also have been dependent on the past and the history of BMX and those who they idolize. So, in addition to the many crashes that each rider sees on a daily basis, they look up to the riders that have been great and will be remembered forever in the sport. And that's how they decide whether or not to wear a helmet. Finally, rider background is one of the most essential pieces when it comes to determining whether or not a particular rider chooses to wear a helmet. If a rider maybe that is not as financially supported as one of the other riders cannot even afford a quality helmet. Therefore, they wear whatever helmet they find in their house, or whatever helmet their parents buy for them, or they don't wear a helmet at all, and they use the excuse that they can't buy one. Or a rider that can only ride the streets and has no access to skate parks, or any areas that riders wear helmets, and that where it's necessary to wear helmets. So that is why some riders don't wear helmets at all. However, when riders have friends that ride full face helmets and try big tricks and fall every day, they can have friends that all wear full face helmets, and they are all inclined to wear those helmets because they don't think it's weird; they think it's cool. So, friends and background are a very big influence on helmet use as well in BMX. Fundamentally, helmet use, type, and quality have been conflicts and topics of discussion for decades in BMX. Rider background, the influence of famous riders, and selective disciplines always factor into whether riders protect their head. Even though the sport has seen countless traumatic head injuries, a very large majority of riders still choose to ride in either a bad, unprotected, or no helmet at all. Hopefully, one day, all riders will wear protective headgear, and therefore head injury will be limited.